right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So the official weigh-ins for Classic Physique just wrapped up, and the result that everybody's been waiting for. Apparently, Mike Sommerfeld has officially made weight, but again, they didn't show any of it. So I think what we still don't know is, was he the same height as last year, or was he a different height and then made weight even lower? Because I think the two numbers that we're talking about are either he could weigh 212, which is what he weighed last year, or 204, which would be the next weight division down. So I guess the question is, because he looked really lean, he looked really depleted. I mean, everybody did. We're like a day out from the show. But he looked especially depleted in the videos that we saw of him. So I kind of wonder if he preemptively got down to 204 for the weigh-ins just in case he didn't make the same height. So we don't know the answer to that question. And again, I really just don't understand why they didn't show the height and weight measurement. I think everybody wanted to see it, just, not only to see if it seemed like it was fair or legit or whatever, but also just so we could actually see the height and the weight. And I think the fact that they didn't show it, like I said in the previous video, is just going to drive that speculation even further about this whole thing. And then I think this was kind of the cherry on the cake. At the very end, Sean Ray and Chris Cormier, they called Mike over to do an interview. He nodded and said, yes, I'm going to do it. And then he just kind of swerved them and beelined straight out of the door without doing the interview. But I think that's going to make the fan speculation even worse, combined with the fact that they didn't show anything on the live stream as far as the measurements or the scale. And then Mike swerved the interview at the very end, because they even said they wanted to ask him, what was the height? What was the weight? Was it the same height as last year? Was it different? Was it the same weight as last year? Was it different? I think that is also an important question. I'm glad that he made weight. I obviously want to see Mike compete. But I do wonder, and I think it's important, whether or not it was 212 or 204 or something even lower than that. Because if he did crash cut to 204, preemptively anticipating maybe he's not going to make the same height, I think that could impact his physique. And again, the perfect example of that is Terrence Ruffin. When he missed weight and had to cut down to that lower weight class, he dropped from second place the previous year to sixth place that year as a result of that last-minute cut. So we could see the same thing happen to Mike if that's what happened. And it does make me wonder, is that why he declined the interview and made a beeline straight out the door instead of, talking to them and potentially answering that question, what was your height and weight? Because all the other top guys, like when they did 212, Keon said what he weighed, Ramon said what he weighed. All the other top guys stayed for an interview and they said what they measured and what they weighed. And Mike is the only one that I saw in this whole stream that declined the interview after. They didn't invite everybody over for the interview. They only invited all the main guys. But of all the guys they invited over, Mike was the only guy that declined and just swerved straight out the front door, which, again, I think is a little bit odd. Now, I did hear in one of the other interviews they did with Matt Grego, Matt said in his interview that his understanding was that the Olympia themselves have photo and video of the height and weight that they're going to be posting. So I really hope that they post that to clear this up, because I think this only further fuels the speculation, because the week kind of started like this is a really good thing. This is a really transparent, accountable thing that they're doing by remeasuring these heights. It was a really good thing, and I give them tons of credit for that. And I think Mike was the reason for that. So then by not filming Mike, showing any of it, Mike declining the interview, and then nobody knows, the weigh-ins just ended, and we don't know what Mike's height was, and we don't know what he weighed. We just know that he made weight. So I feel like it almost leaves more questions than answers. So if they did video and take pictures of this stuff, I think they really need to post it, because looking at the live stream chat when Mike walked off, fans were not happy. And then on top of that, Beyond the Stage TV is reporting that 10 Classic Physique guys missed weight. So I think they were actually measuring stricter, and that's why it seems like more guys than usual have missed weight, which makes me wonder about the thing with Mike. Did he make the 212 weight limit in the height class that he was previously at, Or again, did he preemptively diet down to make 204? Because Chris Cormier made a comment before Mike came over, or before Mike didn't come over, I guess, and said that he had heard that Mike was like furiously last minute doing a ton of cardio and really trying to get his weight down. And I guess the question is, was that to make the 212, or was it because he was afraid that he had to cut down another weight class lower? Because if 10 guys really missed weight, I would be shocked that Mike wasn't one of them. So I wonder if he preemptively knew, okay, I'm not going to make the height. I'm going to try to be 204. And I think that drastically is going to impact his look if that's what happens. So I do think they should provide some clarity. I think we should see all of them. Like, they should post all these guys' heights and weights. I don't know why after these weigh-ins, especially at a big show like the Olympia, I don't know why they don't just straight up post like a spreadsheet. Here's what everybody weighed. Here's how tall everybody was. I don't know why they just don't publicly post it. Because if the goal was transparency this year, I don't think they achieved that goal with this live stream press conference, unless they plan on posting these pictures and videos that Matt Grego said that was his understanding is, the Olympia team was filming it. But I guess we'll find out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this whole debacle. It just definitely seems like a lot of the fans were not happy with the way this was handled. Now, next up in the news, a brand new series of updates from Rubiel Mosquera, Neckzilla. And I hate to say I told you so, but Rubiel looks 5 weeks out in these updates, especially from the back. The pictures of him from the back here, like the glutes and hamstrings are just, it looks like guest posing condition. And I'm afraid that I think we are going to see a Dubai Pro version of Rubiel here. I don't think we're going to see a show-winning, 2-time open show champ version of Neckzilla here. I think we're going to get more of like the Dubai Pro, kind of a disappointment version of Rubiel. I don't think this is enough to get Rubiel in the conversation for a top 10 spot. And I think, it's cool to see him on the Olympia stage. Obviously, he's a freak. We like to see guys like this. We like to see these big names with a ton of muscle and a ton of hype going into a show. It just does end up becoming a letdown when they don't deliver. And honestly, to be honest, the reason I'm so disappointed with how Rubiel is looking is I would love to see Rubiel come in here, peeled to the bone, and do some serious damage in this lineup. I would love to see Rubiel come in crazy peeled and be a top 10 guy and be, in there hanging with these top guys. That would be exciting. That would make for a really fun Olympia. So I'm rooting for Rubiel to do that. So when I see these updates and he looks back to, Dubai Pro guest posing type of Rubiel, it's disappointing because I want to see that freaky conditioned Rubiel come in and do some damage, and I want to see him deliver on his hype. I don't want him to be like the next, forgotten mass monster 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I don't want him to be the guy that people look back and, they think, remember Rubiel, whatever happened to that guy, whatever happened to Neckzilla, and him end up being one of these guys that never, won any big shows or did any damage at the Olympia or anything like that. I want his legacy to be he's a freak that came in and shook things up and did some damage. And that's why I want to see better condition from him. And I just don't think we're seeing that for his Olympia debut. And I don't think we're going to see him in the top 10 based on everything that we've seen from him so far going into this show. I don't think we're going to see that conditioned version that we saw of him at the previous 2 shows. And then on the other side of that coin, you've got Goodvito. And Goodvito, I feel like, is the other kind of social media hype big name in this lineup that's making his Olympia debut. He posted 2 updates today, and I just feel the opposite about Goodvito is how I feel about Neckzilla. Goodvito looks like he's going to come into this thing peeled and looking ridiculously detailed. In these updates, I'm very impressed by how he looks. With Rubiel, not so much. And again, with the legs, Rubiel gets a lot of credit for the size and freakiness in his lower body. But I think Goodvito has the total package in terms of a freaky lower body. His legs are gigantic, and the separation is ridiculous in Goodvito's legs. It's not even close to what you see from Rubiel when he flexes his quads. So I think what you have is kind of 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. I think you're going to see Goodvito really make the most of his Olympia debut, and I think he probably will be top 10. I really do. And I think he's going to make a statement where I kind of feel the opposite with Rubiel. I don't think he's going to really do some damage here. So I think that Goodvito is probably going to deliver. Rubiel is probably going to disappoint. And with classic physique, man, I guess we'll see what happens. In fact, I'll show you guys this physique update from Ruff Diesel that he posted today. And I will say, I think that if Mike, this is why I want to know Mike's height and weight. I think that if Mike had to crash cut down to a lower weight class preemptively, so let's say he crash cut down to make 204, I think if Mike did that, he's no longer in the conversation to win. I think it would impact his physique the same way it impacted Terrence back in 2022 or whatever year that was. And I think if Mike did have to do that crash cut, I think it's going to be between Terrence and Ramon for the win. That's my prediction if Mike had to do that crash cut. If they allowed Mike, if everything's the same with Mike as last year, if he's 212, he's the same height, I think Mike wins. If he's not that same height and weight and he had to crash cut, I don't think he wins this show. Keep in mind, he went from 8th to 2nd by weighing 212. That body weight is an advantage, and I think if he loses that advantage, it moves him back a couple of placings. And I really think, and Terrence made this point when he was doing his interview at the weigh-ins, he wasn't here last year, Terrence wasn't. And the last time he faced Mike, he beat him. And I think if Mike had to crash cut, we see Terrence beat him again. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, because we got the press conference coming up. There's going to be a lot to talk about with that. And as always, like, subscribe. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.